Just about every town has a Kenny Whitefield, a strange man living on a huge plot of land surrounded by no trespassing signs. And too many weapons. They come in all shapes and sizes, preppers, conspiracy theorists, rednecks. It doesn't matter why they choose to live out in the woods, but one thing's for sure, the people in town are going to spread rumors about them. That's the way it was with Kenny. Rarely seen off his homestead, he became a sort of local boogeyman. Sometimes you'd see him coming down the road in his beat-up old truck. You could hear him coming too. The man must have hated mufflers. When my friends and I were younger, we'd run and hide whenever we heard him coming until he passed by. It was probably just our imagination, but it seemed like he slowed down whenever he drove past, like he was watching us. Of course, as you get older, you become less scared and more curious. We ended up going out to Kenny's one night just looking for something to do. Jared, Tyler, and I had a way of hyping each other up. Our teachers always told us that we were good kids when we were separated, but when the three of us got together, all hell broke loose. Our reputation often preceded us, especially after we were banned from the town library. I was whispering, "Dem old." Anyway, by high school, there weren't a ton of places left we could just hang out. Folks would see us coming and immediately suspect we were up to something. Usually we were, but hey, we were kids. What else are kids supposed to do? I think it was Tyler's idea that we go explore Kenny's place. We'd heard so many stories about it. We wanted to find out which ones were true. They say he's a freak, that he'll eat whatever he can get his hands on. Tyler said, when I was a kid, our neighbors, the Wilkies, had a dog that went missing. Mike Wilkie is kind of a little freak too, but there was like a fear in his voice when he told me that his dog was last seen around Kenny's place. He thinks Kenny must have cooked him up for dinner. Dogs, dude. Jared said, nah, I heard he straight up ate his wife. It was like some sort of cannibalistic ritual or something. For real? I asked. For real, dude. At least, that's what Daniel Moore told me last year. Dan's full of it. No way Kenny had a wife. Ah, Dan knows what's up. His parents knew Kenny. I think they went to high school together. He totally had a wife. They say she just disappeared one day. She was kooky as hell, too. They say she was like a real-life witch, into devil worship and stuff. I heard she had blood cancer or hemophilia. Something was wrong with her blood. Tyler chimed in. What? Yeah, she got real sick. That's why Kenny is so obsessed with blood. Kenny's obsessed with blood. I've never heard that. I mean, that's what they say. Who's they? Just them, dude. Whatever. I still don't believe he had a wife who would marry Kenny. Whatever was said about Kenny didn't stop us from hiking up the road toward the edge of his property. Kenny lived just outside of town in a wooded area. You could tell which property was his by the big yellow trespassers will be shot sign hanging up in the trees. You'd think that's for real. Like, can he just shoot us? Jared asked. No, Tyler said, you gotta have a weapon or something like that. Even if it's posted, you can't just shoot people. Or, that's what I heard from Blake. He and some guys were camping a while back and accidentally wound up camping and drinking on some guy's property. He was chill though. Let him go. Yeah, and you think Kenny's gonna be chill? I asked. Who knows? Maybe. Tyler shrugged and started into the woods. We crept through the woods slowly. Every twig and branch that cracked beneath our feet made me tense up. Even if Kenny ate dogs, I wondered if he might have some around guarding his property. Suddenly, Tyler froze in front of me. What the hell was that? He whispered, pointing up into the trees. Up on one of the branches, there appeared to be a wind chime. It was stark white against the trees. In the moonlight, we could make out that it was made of bleached bones. It looked like a bird's skull dangled in the middle. As the pieces struck together, they made a dull thudding sound. What the hell? I whispered. We've got to get out of here. Jared only half whispered. No way, man. We made it this far. Who knows what kind of messed up stuff Kenny's got out here. We've got to check it out. Tyler said. Screw that. I am getting out of here. Jared turned to leave. No, we've come too far. I've at least got to see the house, Tyler said. Harper, who are you going with? I thought for a moment. Scared as I was, I really wanted to see what Kenny's house looked like. Jared, go back to the road and wait for us. If we're not back in like 20 minutes, they'll get help. Help? Like who? Our parents? Hell no. Like Daniel or someone. Dan's got a car, right? Okay, 20 minutes. We'll be back. It'll be fine. And with that, Tyler and I went deeper into the trees. The wind picked up and the sound of clacking bones filled the woods. The bone chines were everywhere, on almost every branch. How did he get all these bones? I asked. Must have taken him a while, Tyler said. On some of the trees, there were carvings, deep carvings. From a distance, they kind of looked like those initials and hearts that teenagers sometimes carve. But as we got closer, I saw that they weren't initials, but strange symbols. I expected pentagrams, or something like that, but these were different. They almost looked like letters, just a little off. It wasn't long until we found the house. I was shocked by how totally normal it looked. It wasn't even a log cabin, or something weird like that. It was just a normal double wide with green siding perched between some pine trees. The old pickup was parked out front, rusted with red paint peeling off in patches. Beside the house was a little shed, and farther back a small garage. I crept up next to Tyler. He looked at me and smiled. Dare you to peek inside? Inside? Are you kidding me? Come on. Or are you a baby like Jared? We never said anything about looking inside. We need to go back. I want to see in. I'm just gonna go peek through the window. Before I could protest anymore, Tyler started moving toward the house. As we got closer, more and more of the stranger details stood out to us. Almost every tree had a symbol carved into it, sometimes in multiple places. Bones were everywhere. Multiple bone wind chimes hung around the house. Something that looked like an evil dream catcher hung outside the front door, a spiderweb of animal skulls, tufts of feathers, and smaller bones all woven together. One of the trees we passed by had what looked like a deer skull hanging on it. As we passed by, I could see that it too had symbols carved all over it. Tyler, I'm seriously ready to go. Something is not right here. Go back then. I'm gonna go peek in the window. I stayed where I was, watching Tyler approach Kenny's house. Not far from me was the shed. It was old and dilapidated, like it might fall over at any minute. It was covered in carvings. Bone chimes dangled on each corner of the roof. It was tied with a rope that had little pieces of paper hanging from it. The door was covered with stickers that looked like they had Chinese written on them. There were also about half a dozen crucifixes as well. Tyler, I whispered, but he was already too far away. That's when I heard it. Help. It was faint, very faint. It sounded like a woman's voice, and it sounded like it was coming from inside the shed. I tried to ignore it. It must have been the wind. It must have been my imagination. This place was weird. It was just playing tricks on me. Help. My heart was pounding. What the hell was I supposed to do? I could go back to Jared. We could call the police. And then what? Would they believe a bunch of kids that admitted to trespassing? I found myself moving toward the shed. Tyler turned back to look at me. I could see him mouth, "What are you doing?" I motioned for him to come back. "There's someone in there," I whispered. "No way." "Yeah, I just heard them call for help, I think." "What are we gonna do? How am I supposed to know?" "I guess we should help." We made our way up to the door of the shed. As we did, I heard the voice again. Someone was definitely in there, and they were definitely calling for help. The door came open easily. It wasn't even locked. Tyler used a pocket knife to cut the rope. The stickers peeled. As we opened the door creaked open, and a sense of dread set over me. Inside was worse than I could have imagined. I thought I might actually throw up. The walls of the shed were lined with crucifixes, and the bones of what I hope were various animals, some old and yellowing, and others bleached white. All of them appeared to have carvings. The woman sat in the middle of the room. She wore old tattered clothes and a cloth bag over her head. Ropes bound her hands and feet. On the ground surrounding her were more symbols carved into the floor. Around that was a dark red ring that I guessed must have been dried blood. "What the hell?" Tyler whispered. Suddenly, the woman lashed out. "I knew it," she gasped. "I knew it. Someone's there. Someone's finally come. Please, he's crazy. You have to let me out." "Okay, lady, we'll get you out," I said. I ran over to her and began working on the ropes. They were old and frayed. Tyler made quick work of them with his pocket knife. I was surprised the woman hadn't been able to break free from them. When we finally got the ropes off, the woman stood shakily. "Let's get out of here," Tyler said. "We'll get you to the police, or the hospital, or wherever you need to go." The woman continued to shake. She was chuckling. It started as a low rumble and then slowly grew into a maddening laugh. Finally, I'm free." The woman reached up and took the bag off of her head. Her face was contorted into a wide, jagged-toothed smile. Her eyes were bright yellow, like a cat's eyes. I nearly fell over when I saw her. Then we heard the sound of a shotgun being pumped. Get away from her, boys. It was Kenny. I'd never seen him up close before. It looked like he was still in his pajamas. He held the shotgun in his hands. That was leveled at the woman. Tyler and I listened and scampered away from the woman. Oh, Kenny, we haven't gotten to talk face to face in so long. And this is how you treat me. And I was just about to forgive you for keeping me tied up all these years. We hid behind Kenny, our boogeyman turned savior. What the hell is she? What the hell is going on? Tyler said. Kenny actually smiled at that. That's a long story. Right now, you boys need to get. The thing lunged at Kenny, and there was an explosion of noise as he fired the shotgun. The woman flew backward against the wall of the shed, adding her blood to the blood already splattered on the floor. Holy hell, Tyler yelled. He was covered in splotches of blood. Kenny must have had some extra powerful rounds in his gun. He cocked the gun and the shell casing popped out. Oh my god, is she dead? I asked. Nah, take more than that to kill that thing. Bought us some time though. Don't know why you boys are out here, but you need to screw off. Quick. There was a gurgling noise from the corner of the shed. The woman seemed to be breathing again. Her skin was stitching itself back together. Run, Kenny said. We made it about 10 feet from the cabin when we heard another shotgun blast. The woman leapt on him and knocked him to the ground. Her arm was a bloody stump, blown away by the shotgun, but she was still smiling. Kenny, you haven't been to visit your wife in so long. You'd rather just keep me tucked away in the shed. Pretend I don't exist. Well, I do exist, Kenny, and do you know what it's like to be trapped in that shed? It's been so boring. Now that I'm out, let's have a little fun. There was a sickening popping sound. Kenny screamed as the woman tore his arm off. This one should do. She held the arm up to her own bloody stump. Her flesh seemed to pulse forward and latch onto Kenny's arm. Once the arm was attached, she flexed all of the digits and clenched her fist. Kenny lay on the ground, continuing to scream. Yes, this will do nicely. The woman leaned in close and caressed Kenny's face. Shooting your wife. How awful. What will people think? Kenny, what have you done to your poor Julie? You're not her. He grunted. Don't even pretend. Don't even say her name. You're not her. The thing leaned in close so that it was face to face with Kenny. Its mouth opened and a large tongue flopped out. It licked him with it, and then quickly retracted the tongue back in its mouth with a snap. Maybe you're right. The thing reeled back, its mouth open wide. Run, I yelled to Tyler. We both sprinted through the trees. Behind us, there was a cracking noise as the thing tore into Kenny. His scream stopped. Jesus Christ, Tyler shrieked. Just keep running. We did our best to follow our original route. Soon, we heard the footsteps now, something worse than footsteps. A lady, the thing, whatever it was tearing through the trees after us. As we began to run past the first bone chimes we'd seen, Tyler tripped. He hit the ground hard. I did a 180 and rushed back over to him. I hoisted him off the ground as quickly as I could, but not quick enough. The thing was right behind us. Its tongue drooped down out of its mouth, long and forked. Slobber and blood dripped from her gaping maw. We're gonna die. We're gonna die. And it's all my fault, Tyler yelled. I closed my eyes. Then there was a shriek. When I opened my eyes, I saw the woman flying backward. She smacked hard into the ground. What? She growled. Then she snapped her head upward. She started to chuckle when she noticed the bone chimes hanging in the trees. Kenny was more clever than I thought. Bird bones, a relatively poor substitute for human bones, but good enough it seems. Kenny never had it in him to take a human life. Poor bastard. Tyler and I just stared at her. She paced at the tree line, like a tiger in its enclosure at the zoo. She stared up at the bone chimes, shaking her head. He never was as good at magic as his wife was. But in the end, not too shabby, Kenny. I've waited a long time. I guess I can wait a while longer. Those talismans won't hold forever. With that, she turned and skulked back into the darkness, leaving Tyler and me alone. What the hell was that? Tyler asked. I have no idea, and I still don't. We tried to tell Jared what we saw, but he never believed us. Even though Tyler was covered in blood, he never believed it. Of course, he was never brave enough to sneak back out to Kenny's house and see for himself. Rumors spread around town about Kenny's disappearance. Some people said he died, and his spirit was still haunting the grounds of his house. Others said he was still up there, but that he'd finally completely lost it, and that he must be building a bunker up there or something, finding some way to completely isolate himself from society. Only Tyler and I know the truth. I drove by once before I left for college. The yellow no trespassing signs had been replaced with a new one. It was a sign from the county saying that the property had been condemned. I wonder if whatever inspectors the county sent out there saw that thing. Maybe it hid from them while they looked around the place. Or maybe the bone chimes finally fell and that thing is loose out in the world somewhere. I don't like to think about that, but the thing was right. Those chimes won't hang forever.